Well, yes, the Senate continued the screening of ministers yesterday. Well, some of the those who were screened yesterday, Senator Tayo Alasha, Dura Abdullahi Hassan, Mustafa Baba Shehuri, Abubakar Aliyu, Timipre Silva, Major General Salihu Magashi, Ramatu Tijani, Niya Debayo, Zubair Dada, Chris Ngige, Sunday Dare, Muhammad Bello, Sadia Farouk, and you can see the rest of them there. So yes, they will go ahead and continue with their screening. Well, we're joined now by Dr. Abraham Nwankwo, who is the chairman, Imo State Financial Advisory Committee. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Well, look, this is all over the place now, how the process is going on with the screening, what we expect from them, because they will ultimately affect governance at the end of the day. Do you have an expectation? What's your impression about this screening so far?
Well, let me talk in general terms. The whole idea of getting the nominees screened is important. Most importantly, from my point of view, is an opportunity for the general public, for Nigerians, to be able to get introduced to those who are most likely going to form the cabinet and who will drive the programs and projects for the delivery of dividends of democracy for the people. So it's good for the ordinary people, as it were, to get to know them, size them up on their own basis, and then form some opinions, some expectations about those nominees. And secondly, is an opportunity for each of these nominees to demonstrate, to indicate their capacity, their capability. And indirectly, it serves as a service charter, because in the process of trying to defend their nominations, they attempt to prove that they can deliver, they can contribute effectively. So indirectly, then implicitly, is a sort of pledge, promise, taking an oath before the Nigerian people that they're going to be devoted, they're going to be committed, they're going to be transparent. So I think in general is a good exercise.
In terms of the quality of delivery, what are your expectations, given that, you know, the influence of a federal minister traverses the 36 states of Nigeria, including yours?
In terms of quality of delivery, that's the point I have made. You know, the essence of part of the essence of the screening is that each nominee tries to prove that he's up to the task.
What are your own expectations?
My expectation is the expectation of the ordinary people on the street. You want to serve of so many million Nigerians. A few of you have been chosen to lead, as it were. And so you must accept full responsibility, no excuses. Let me use Boris Johnson's words: no bets, no ifs, just performance. So my expectation is that there must be no excuses. There should be no, oh, it's because. There's no because. Every problem has a solution. So get ahead and get the problem solved if you accept the nomination.
Speaking about getting problem solved, I mean, we knew you your days when you were in the federal government agency, looking at the budget, finances, but now you're in the state. In terms of delivery, because those expectations, oftentimes we focus on the federal budgeting system, what's happening with the budget, how is it going to affect the country. The states also, they equally have budgets, expectations from their citizens as well. So having made that change, this new position of yours, did you consider, wait a minute, I actually had to perform and deliver here, because many have known where you're coming from. So now that you're in this position, what's the difference for you now?
Okay, Chamberlain, you're taking me to the background, so let me get to the background. As you rightly mentioned, I worked at the federal level prominently as the Director General of the Debt Management Office. I retired in 2017. As you know, I'm a citizen of Imo State. I'm not actually part of the Imo State Cabinet. I'm retired. However, His Excellency, Right Honorable Meke Hedio as UN, thought it wise to work with professionals from all over the state to achieve certain objectives. So I'm actually chairing a committee, the Financial Advisory Committee for Imo State. This is a committee that has been set up to review the finances of the state, to review the banking relationships of the state, to review the governance and financial situation of key government agencies. The overall idea is that Governor Ihedioha appreciates that there need to have robust institutions of government, robust agencies to be able to deliver on programs and projects that will be for the benefit of the people. He realizes that you needed to ensure that you have the right competencies, the right organizational structures in each of these agencies. He realizes that you need to think in terms of having the right technologies, the right processes. So these are parts of the things this Financial Advisory Committee, an 8-person committee, which is set up. It was inaugurated in June 10, and we started work the same day, 8 of us. Let me say that before this 8-man Financial Advisory Committee was set up, as soon as it was inaugurated, I'm sure Nigerians know about that, Governor Ihedioha has also set up 13 different committees to review various sectors of Imo State, economic and social sectors. So some focus on agriculture, some focus on finance and revenue, some focus on infrastructure and all that. So the whole idea is that, first of all, he believes in the principle of taking advantage of all the professionals, all the skills available in Imo State and from our friends, and making sure that there is focus on each sector of the economy, each sector of the society, so that he will be able to gather maximum support, maximum commitment, maximum resources to solve the problems of the state. So that's the background of the Financial Advisory Committee.
Yeah, we've always highlighted the importance, the role that states play in getting the economy of the country working, because people live in those states. So whatever program and plans the federal government has, it has to be implemented in states. And when the federal government came on board and then they brought up the TSA, they now thought that, well, yes, it's working for them, they're getting the results. But different states, different challenges. Now that, because we understand that the governor also introduces TSA, but the question then is, look, how is this being accepted? Why did they have to come up with the TSA? Are people accepting it?
Thank you very much. Now, as I said, the Governor Ihedioha wants to be sure that things are done properly. And in his inauguration speech, one of the things he promised the people was there going to be a treasury single account. Why did he emphasize that as a priority? He emphasized that as a priority because there were indications that in Imo State, the way finances were being managed, the number of bank accounts and all that needed to be looked into, to be rationalized. Of course, part of it is that you wanted to make sure you are maximizing revenue collection as well as revenue usage. So one of the things that our committee had to do, that the Financial Advice Committee had to do, is to respond to that promise he made to the people of Imo State about the Treasury Single Account. So within the first 30 days of our work, we did a lot of work looking at the finances, looking at the processes. And we discovered, for example, that there were too many bank accounts, about 250 bank accounts, about 250 overall, distributed among the about 17 banks. that was one. Secondly, that we also found out that a good number of the MDS, Ministry Departments and Agencies, that collect revenue in various forms. Of course, most ministries are in a position to collect one form of revenue for government or the other. The Education Minister, of course, can collect certain fees from private schools, as you know. And the people in charge of sanitation will be collecting certain fees for the refuse collection and all that. So, but the important thing is that it was found out that most of these MDS, as they collect, they thought they use them as well. So there was no accountability. Because the dictating in a modern society, in a modern economy, in a modern government, is that even if there are so many MDS, Ministry of Personal collecting revenues, as they collect, it should go into a central pool to be managed by, to be overseen and operated by the Board of Inland Revenue. In this case, Imo State Board of Internal Revenue. That's the appropriate thing. On the other side, a modern economy operates on the budgetary system. The budget is an instrument of financial management in every modern economy. So through the budgetary process, you'll be able to make resources available to the MDS to carry on their own operations. That's how every modern economy works, isn't it? Yeah. So which means, first of all, you have to make sure that everything that comes is collected, if not physically, but virtually. But you should not be in a position that whatever you are collecting, you are using, so that you are self-budgeting, self-serving. You understand?
If I could jump in, the question of fiscal discipline, does this guarantee fiscal discipline? Because look, it's one thing to have that in place, but it's also one thing to ensure that why the objectives are being fulfilled.
Yes, it does. It helps to achieve fiscal discipline. First of all, fiscal discipline starts with revenue collection. First, you make sure you are collecting revenues you should collect. Okay? You make sure all revenues collected are accounted for. That's the beginning. Now, that's on one side. On the other side, you go to the usage of it. How do you disburse it? And that's how the budgetary process comes in. The budgetary process in itself also ensures fiscal discipline. That's the whole idea. That was the essence of TSA, the Treasury Single Account, which Imo State has introduced, rightly so, is that it encourages the usage of the budget as an instrument of fiscal management. And all over the world, in modern economy, in developed economies, in developing economies, there is no doubt, in mind of anybody, that you needed the budgetary system, the modern budgetary system, for fiscal discipline. Because the budget lists everything you are supposed to do as much as possible, says how much it is likely to cost, an estimate. And based on that, as you move along, you see whether what you are collecting, the revenue inflows, are tallying. You also see whether your expenditures are tallying. So you have a guide. So that's the sense of discipline. Okay? And because these things are spelled out, it becomes easier for any party, civil society, the ordinary citizen, the legislature, to be able to monitor what is happening in terms of the inflows and outflows. So the Treasury Single Account is important because it covers not just the revenue collection, but it also emphasizes that the budgetary process has to be restored as an instrument of effective financial management. And for that, again, a good reason why the Treasury Single Account is important for Imo is that it was also found out, our committee found out, that there was a lot of collection in cash instead of the various people or the various entities that make payments to government for services. Instead of them paying into bank accounts, they pay in cash to certain agencies and certain agents. And of course, when you do that, you are leaving room for leakages. You are leaving room for leakages. That's it, and for non-transparency. Again, it was also found out that certain payments that were supposed to be made, much of it was made in cash again, instead of through bank accounts. The whole idea of also, Treasury Single Account in Imo is that it is emphasizing the use of bank accounts so that this will be easy to monitor, so that you don't leave room tempting people to make mistakes, as it were, in quote. So that's the whole idea. So you minimize receipts in cash, minimize payments in cash, encourage use of accounts.
Dr. Nwankwo, does that mean that the money is collected in cash were not accounted for?
Now, let me put this way. The probability in any system in any system, the probability that if you depend on physical cash collection, that you cannot account for everything is very high. In every system, anywhere in the world. That's why you need technologies. For example, take the classical case of the usual airport toll gates. Consider toll gates in Nigeria, where there's some automation. You go, there's something that records, there's an equipment that records that your car is passing. Okay? And you pay money, it's slotted in, and the gate opens and you pass. There's a control. Compare it with a situation where you have some of these toll gates, also in airports, where you simply come, there's no machine, somebody issues a piece of paper to you, and you give cash and pass away. Certainly, you are encouraging leakages.
Even though the receipt system is
automated? Now, no, I'm saying when the receipt is just turned out by somebody and given to you, it's not automated. Now, the issue is that as a motorist, when you are passing, will you take time to check whether the piece of paper you are giving is genuine or not, for example? No, so what the point I'm trying to make is anywhere in the world, not just in Nigeria, not just in Imo, everywhere in the world, once you depend on cash collections, both in payments and in receipts, you are creating room for leakages. So it is better for you as much as possible to automate, to reduce cash payments, to encourage payment through transfers, through banks, through POS. That's one of the things that Imo State, Treasury Single Account is focusing on.
Okay, I think this conversation around cash or bank transfer is probably why we had the NFIU guidelines come up. And I'm just curious, and I'd like you to clear the air. So how will this TSA work side by side with the NFIU guidelines, understanding that it's perhaps a very tricky situation? So how would it work?
Yeah, they are complementary. The guidelines are also encouraging you, it's trying to encourage transparency. That's what the guideline is all about. So it's complementary to TSA.
Now, the reason I say this is just yesterday, the Norge official said that states are finding new ways to, as it were, get money from local governments. In fact, he said that they're making local governments, and he said states across the country. He didn't leave out any states. Now, he said the states are devising methods, getting levies from local governments in a way to, as it were, fine, there's NFI guidelines, but you can't stop us from still getting money from the local government. So I'd like you to clear the air. There's still that, that conversation around states being too powerful, as it were, over local governments when it comes to finances.
Let me use the direction that Governor here Johannes Imo State is moving, the direction we're moving in relation to the state and the local government. Take, for example, the issue of the Treasury Single Account. How is it moving in Imo? How it is moving is that, first of all, we appreciate that if you introduce Treasury Single Account at the state level, at the state government level, you should also be planning to democratize it to the local government level. That's one. So we are taking in terms of cooperation, in terms of partnership between the state and the local government, not unhealthy competition, but cooperation. Secondly, is that the Financial Advisory Committee, based on the mandate, the way the mandate has been given to us by His Excellency Governor Hejo, we appreciate that we are going to work closely with the management and staff of the local governments to help them strengthen their own institutions, strengthen their own processes, even giving their autonomy. But we're going to cooperate with them to do that. In that respect, for example, having introduced the Treasury Single Account, I know you will appreciate that one of the most important things you must do is to educate people, enlighten people, share ideas, so that everybody, the operators, the ministry, the departments, the officials, as well as the general public will understand it. So one of the major initiatives we have taken is to have seminars, interaction fora with various stakeholders in the state. And I'm aware that today is Friday. This evening, the Financial Advisory Committee will be having such a forum, such a seminar, with all the transition committee chairmen of all the local governments this evening, discussing about the TSA in the state and how it can cascade to the state. By tomorrow, we are now going to have a seminar with local government officials on the same issue. So the point I'm trying to make is that, look, from the Imo State point of view, the state and the local governments are going to be cooperating on revenue matters, for example, so that they can decide, they can agree that, look, there are some areas where even the local governments can even serve as an agent for states, since they're nearer the people. So, and therefore, they work on behalf of the state, and vice versa.
Right. Having put this in, because what we also saw, with the analogy you were given about, automation, the airports, and some of those things, infrastructure, it was a challenge in many of those countries. At some point, when, at the federal level, these were introduced, even CBN came up with that POS policy, infrastructure wasn't really there. Is it there for this in Imo State?
Yes, we appreciate the infrastructure is a challenge. However, first of all, we are learning from the experience of the pioneers. As you have said, TSA was introduced at the federal level before a couple of states started, introducing it. So we are taking advantage of the lessons, of the experience of the federal government in introducing TSA. That is one. Two, we appreciate in the case of Imo that there is need for a lot of flexibility. For example, one of the benefits of the interaction we are having with various stakeholders is that after interacting with MDS, we came to the conclusion and we agreed that, look, there has to be flexibility. For example, based on the Treasury single account, as I said, every agency is now going to learn to depend on the budget, which means there has to be disbursements from the budgetary process to each MDA for it to run its own operation. So one of the issues is that, what is the frequency of disbursement? Is it monthly? Is it weekly? But the important thing, we came to the conclusion that there are some agencies that have peculiar cash flows. And therefore, when you are talking of disbursement, for example, you are not going to generalize. It's not going to be one cap fits all. Everybody will be working within the framework of TSA, but there will be some flexibility that reflect the peculiar cash flow of certain agencies. For example, how do you provide cash flow for a hospital, a general hospital, to meet its needs? Because the type of its operations is such that it happens every minute, every second. So you're not going to wait till the end of the month to treat somebody. So that's why good. So that's why, in our own case, we have discussed with these agencies, and we agree that with each agency, there will be peculiarities in the design of their own disbursements from the budget, reflecting their peculiar cash flow.
What about implementation? Because, budget implementation, MDA is a huge challenge. So how is that going to work? Are you having conversation around that?
Again, that's why I say, as I said, look, the whole idea of the Financial Advisory Committee, beyond the TSA, which is one of our first deliverables and which we, by God's grace, we are delivering effectively, is that you are rebuilding institutions. I'm coming to the issue of, who will do it, what infrastructure do you need to do it. The institutions have to be rebuilt. And that's the part of the exercise we have been doing for the past 6 weeks, discussing with every agency, understanding them, auditing not in the negative sense, auditing in the sense of knowing their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strengths, trying to reposition them. So part of the whole process we are doing, that you can't be talking of financial advisory without looking at the institutions. You will be wasting your time, because it's the institutions that will deliver the financial processes. So we are interested in strengthening the institutions, reorganizing them. We're interested in introducing new processes. We're interested in introducing new technologies. We're interested in strengthening the human capacity, those who will do the job.
Okay, it's a job of work, and there are so many areas that we eventually will hope that we'll have opportunities to look at some other states and what are they doing to ensure that states work and not just us waiting on the center, much as they have their role to play as well. Dr. Abraham Nwankwo, Chairman, Imo State Financial Advisory Committee, thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you very much.